Alrighty, everyone. We are playing the unplayable game. An unplayable game. There we go. That's a tongue-tied twister title over right here. But yeah, attention. This game is intended to be simulation of disability. Instead, it is meant to be demonstration of how accessibility settings can increase playability, especially when a game cannot be played in the expected manner. Oh, oh, interesting. Okay. The main menu of this game contains a television set that is playing a constant static noise. If you are sensitive to repetitive noises, you may want to mute it before proceeding. Now, I think we're good. Alright, let's play. I'll be the one to decide if this game is unplayable or not. Oh! Oh wait, you do have to click on this. Or am I just dumb? Can I... Okay. What is this? Oh! Okay, you know, I understand accessibility. Wait. Wait. Oh my. Oh my days. Requires run, hold assist, jump, hold assist. Time freezing unless player is moving with the D-pad. Jump, hold assist. Wait, how do you even... Does that work? Wait a minute. Okay, okay, alright. How do I even... No, alright, how do you play this? Okay, wait a minute. Set. Oh shit. Settings. Oh, okay. Could do that. Yeah. All right. Just select everything right now. The accessibility. Okay. What the? Interesting. Oh shit. Okay. Very interesting. Alright, I got it, guys. I think I got it. Alright, that's on me. They're like... Okay, no, no, I understand it now. What the flip? Alright, alright, I think we're good. Ooh, we're so close. Okay, I think we're kind of good. Jump. Hmm. Very interesting. Checkpoint, maybe? Oh, wait, that's on me. Yeah. What the flip, man? Oh, no. Okay. Oh, what the Yeah, I did not expect that to kind of like fuck me in the butt. Oh my days. We're gonna have to time this one. Okay. Right around here, we should jump. Oh, we really have to jump at the edge or the flag, I guess. Oh, okay. Oh, we've done it. It's a playable game. Wait, what? Whoa. I did it. Kind of it took me 10 minutes though. I thought would take me like 5.
I had a number of different titles that I was going to use for the game. I originally went with accessibility is important, and then there's also the importance of accessibility, and musings on accessibility in games, and a ton more like that, right? That just tried so hard to get the point across within the title, so that as soon as you see the name of the game, you understand what the point is, kind of like a YouTube video. But I've realized that number one, naming it an unplayable game gets you intrigued. It's a little bit more clickbaity, but also it gets the point across. I'm not trying to, sit you down and be like, "Hey, we're talking about accessibility." I want you to experience how unplayable an inaccessible game can be. And so calling it an unplayable game is, I believe, a really good way of getting that point across and getting a player in the headspace to think about playability in games and really reckon with how bad an unplayable and inaccessible game feels. So the game's title is in all lowercase. Why is it in all lowercase? Well, I've made games that have had like an all uppercase title before, and it's very eye-catching for sure. But I didn't really make this game to be eye-catching or to get sales or clicks or whatever. I made it because I think the topic is really important, and it's a really personal topic to me. And honestly, I just don't type with capitals very often. Like the vast majority of the time, I'm just in all lowercase. So it felt fitting to make the title of a game that's so personal to me in subject matter have an all lowercase title. It feels like I'm the one saying the title, if that makes sense. Full disclosure, I have been on a CRT TV maybe like 10 to 20 times in my entire life. So I've not really seen them in action that much, and I didn't know how the snow was actually created on them and how it worked and if it even abided to like the resolution of the CRTs. Do CRTs even have resolution in pixels as we think of it now? I don't know. So I tried to emulate it as best I could with like the curved screen and a lot of bloom and the scan lines and stuff. But for the static specifically, I did something really interesting. I generated it off of like a white noise generator website. The actual texture itself is what I generated off that website, just a random assortment of white and black pixels. And then instead of having a couple like 800 by 600 images that I cycle through, I instead got two images and changed the scale of them a bunch for every different frame. So you might be able to tell if you really look closely, but it's got the first image, and then it flips the X, and then it flips the Y, and then it flips only the Y and keeps the X positive in terms of scale. And what this allowed me to do is get those different frames of flipped images and just order them in a way that you're not seeing the same image flip multiple times because otherwise it would look like it's spinning and it's really weird. But instead, I switched out the flipping of the two images so that it goes back and forth between them. So you've got two images that are being distorted a bunch, giving the impression of continuous TV static, and that saved a lot of space, a bunch of just like couple kilobyte images of TV snow would take up a lot of space. So that's just a little bit of optimization that I thought was creative. Hi, I'm Ben, the developer of an unplayable game. I'm currently going by Yamako on the net and making games under the name ./badgames.zip. You've just turned on developer commentary mode, which means that you finished my game, so thank you for playing it all the way through. I really hope you enjoyed it. Developer commentary mode has spawned a bunch of little speech bubbles, or commentary nodes, around the game. Each one will play a clip of me, giving you some behind the scenes commentary on the development process or the artistic vision that went into this project. You can find these nodes scattered around the game if you give it a replay. None of the nodes are actually hidden, so I'm sure you won't have trouble finding them all. Just don't forget to check the menus as there are a few nodes in there. Again, thank you so much for playing my game, and I hope you enjoy developer commentary mode. Okay, I know this font is overused everywhere, right? It's VCR OSD, it's like free and it's royalty free. You could just use it. And it's used in so many analog horror things and just general modern horror things. And I'm gonna be completely honest, there's not a great reason to use this. It's overused, it's not unique, but ever since I saw Marble Hornets when I was in school, I have always wanted to use this font for something. And this game's vibes are like close enough that I can use it as an excuse to use the VCR font. So I realize that the letter spacing is weird. It doesn't look that good, and you see this goddamn font everywhere. I had to use it, man. I had to use it. I've been wanting to use this font for so many years. This is the only post-launch commentary node in the entire game, and so I'll give you fair warning that you should probably listen to this one last. It's also the longest, so. In the month or two since I finished an unplayable game, people actually played it. I was hoping to eventually hit 10 reviews on Steam, but now 50 reviews is in sight, and that's so many more than I'd ever imagined I'd get. But more importantly, I've gotten feedback regarding, ironically, accessibility. Now, the topic of the game is really, really important to me, and so I wanted it to be playable by as many people as possible. But as much as I tried to cover all my bases by launch, there were some accessibility issues that I just wasn't aware of, and I'm only aware of them now because of amazing player feedback. Thank you, Harp, Carrie, and Active for that. And I think the font toggle here is the narrative culmination of all that support. Every single person that played the game, shared the game, or talked about it. Because to tell you the truth, I cut this feature. Yeah, I had an alternate font planned for a long time during development, but I ended up cutting it because I thought it was beyond my skill level. I didn't even know where to start with a feature as large as that, not to mention that the game uses 3 different fonts already that I'd have to keep track of. So the game released without it. And I always knew that the game was worse for that, that my pixel fonts might end up being too hard to read for some people. And it kind of goes against the whole point of the game, that a little consideration of accessibility can make a world of difference to some people. And those people matter a lot, and I failed them. I don't necessarily blame myself for the lack of a gamepad vibration toggle or the TV static sound causing sensory issues. I honestly didn't know that those would cause problems, but I'm really glad to know now, and I'll be accounting for that in my future games. But an alternate font is bigger than both of those, and it scared me. I didn't think I could do it. But it's not just a feature. Accessibility is never just a feature or a checkbox. It's people. Accessibility is people, and seeing those people play my game, resonate with my game, really made that clear to me. And you know what? It wasn't that hard. It just took a little bit of effort and a little bit of consideration, and I hope it made a world of difference to someone. Thank you to everyone who took a chance and played, shared, talked about, or reviewed an unplayable game. It really makes me sad to know that not everything I make will be as accessible as this. Not every game concept can be made perfectly playable to every person. Hell, I couldn't even imagine someone playing this game without sight. But the most anyone can do is their best. And so I'll keep doing my best to make games that are accessible and playable for as many people as possible. I hope you enjoyed an unplayable game, and I hope to talk to you again in the next one. One last time, thank you for playing my game. While my college program did have a class on accessible design in video games, it was everyone's least favorite, I think. People complained about it all the time, at least. And, like, of course, building accessible games is a lot of work. It's hard. But for a lot of players, that extra effort can turn an unplayable game, haha, right, into an unforgettable experience that they couldn't have had otherwise. And that's what it's all about, right? Making and releasing games and art. putting them out there and having people experience them. Accessibility helps more people experience your art, experience what you've made. It's important. This was my first time going through and actually making a settings menu with stuff like changing window size and volume and all that. And it was really interesting because not only do I have to make this settings menu in the main menu, but I also have to make it in the on-screen game, which means that there's different kinds of interactables in order to change stuff. Obviously, the main menu has these sliders that you can see, but the 2D game only has buttons because it needs to be completely navigatable with the on-screen controller. So I had to change up the logic for how all of these settings are actually modified, which was really hard because I'd never made settings like this before. So I was learning how to change volume and how to make all of the different sounds be under the same volume mixer thing and how to change the window size and stuff like that. And I had to learn multiple ways of displaying and interacting with those settings as I was doing it, which was hard, but I believe I've become a much better developer because of it. I'm now a person who can implement these settings in a variety of ways really, really easily because it is simple, but I had to push through those difficulties, and now I've got a really flexible tool set when it comes to developing the settings buttons specifically. So I don't know. Sometimes when you make something and it really sucks to learn how to do it, you're growing as a person, and that's pretty cool.
Man, that kind of reminded me of my college days. All right.
The TV in this game was a hassle and a half. It's made in Unity, so I had to learn a lot of Unity specific shit on how to like project a camera's output onto a texture on a mesh, and that was really annoying. I don't feel like I really internalized a lot of that information to use on future projects, and that kind of feels bad. But in reality, I don't think I'm going to be doing a TV within a game that's showing a game that you can play ever again. That's so specific that I think it's okay that I kind of barely made it to the finish line. It works, and the systems are so isolated they don't break everything else in the game by being horribly architected. It works, and I'm done, and that's what matters. Sometimes that is all that matters, is that you got to the finish line. The 3D models in this game gave me such a headache. In university, I was trained using Maya to do 3D modeling and animation and texturing and all that, but I am graduated and don't want to pay an ungodly amount of money for Maya. So I used Blender, and none of my skills transferred at all. I had to watch a couple tutorials just to get a hang on how to use Blender and do something as simple as make a box, bevel it a little bit, and then unwrap it and texture it. It was such a hassle, but again, on the other side of it, I've now built those skills, and I actually find 3D modeling and texturing and animating way easier than doing it with 2D art. And so I believe that thanks to me building those skills through making these models, that's going to be the primary way that I animate things and make things for my future games. I did initially decide that I wanted to put an arachnophobia toggle in the settings menu for accessibility, even though there's no spiders in the game, and I never planned for there to be spiders in the game. Just sort of as a little joke about arachnophobia settings, because in games, sometimes the arachnophobia setting will make the spiders turn into big orbs with eyes, or just the word spider in Lethal Company. And I really do like those settings. I really don't like spiders, and they just freak me out so bad in real life. I don't like how they move. They're skittery and creepy, and I'm fine with them in video games though. But I decided not to include the sort of joke arachnophobia setting because I didn't want to poke fun at people who do need those settings in video games that are absolutely terrified of spiders even if they're on screen. I hate seeing a picture of a spider on Google Images. I throw my phone down if that happens. I hate it. So I didn't want to do anything mean-spirited towards people that do need that arachnophobia setting in games that provide it. So that's why I cut it. The timing assist name is a little bit weird. I originally had it as time stop, and I've heard a couple different options because I asked people on Blue Sky what they thought could be a good name for this, but I swear I have seen this setting somewhere before. I thought it was Celeste, but I guess Nelson Mandela tricked me because that's not true. That's not in Celeste whatsoever. I actually couldn't find another game that included this as an accessibility setting, so I had to make up the timing assist name on my own. But I swear it exists before. This can't be an original idea. I have no confidence that I am the one who made this up. I think I got inspired by something, and I just can't remember it. So, if you know what other game has used this, please email me at this web zone. So the game speed was almost the first thing that I added in terms of accessibility, and I thought it would be huge because it's in a lot of other platformers, and I thought it would help the game be a lot more accessible. And then I added the timing assist, and it completely blew it out of the water, because with timing assist, time is stopped. It's not just slower, it's stopped. But I found out during playtesting that there is still a usage for game speed that I didn't expect, because when you are in that timing assist mode, sometimes it's a little bit hard to get all the way to the edge of those platforms. And when you get to the edge of those platforms, it makes the jumps easier. So if you turn on the game speed, it makes it easier to get all the way to the edge of the platform, making all of the jumps just a little bit easier and giving you a little bit more room for error. And I think that's really valuable, because again, not everyone is on the same skill level. Sometimes people will have trouble with the timing assist, even though it is a much easier way to play, in my opinion, than dexterity-based platforming. Not everyone is at the same level of skill. So having one additional layer of accessibility with the game speed is good, I think, because it is another step towards making sure anyone can play through the game. When designing the level for this game, I tried to introduce concepts to the player as if they'd never played a platformer before, because when I messed around with the timing assist setting and found that time only moves when you move style of gameplay, it completely redefined how I played platformers. Instead of this dexterity challenge, as it would be if you had access to like the typical expected controls, instead it's a spatial puzzle where you have to figure out what inputs to press and when in order to navigate different kinds of jumps. And because that's so different to how you would normally approach a platformer, I thought it would be a good idea to reteach all of the different platforming elements, like a tiny hill that you can jump over that has no risk whatsoever, and like a longer jump where you have to hold the right D-pad the whole time and you have to hold the A button throughout the entire jump to get the maximum amount of height. That kind of basic stuff is so different with the timing assist on that I thought it was a good idea to reteach it. That way you can sort of learn your baby steps once again now that you have entirely different legs, if that makes sense. Now, in a lot of platformers, there's the concept of coyote time, like Wile E. Coyote from Looney Tunes, where you fall off a ledge, and for a split second, you're able to hit the jump button, and you'll still jump as if you were standing on solid ground. That is so that you can sort of have a little leeway with your timing when you're making a jump off a ledge. With the timing assist in this game, you have all the time in the world to line that up, especially if you turn the game speed down, you can get right up to the edge of that ledge. So I found that if I included coyote time, it would be so easily exploitable and break a lot of the delicate balance of the jumps in the level. So yeah, I just didn't include it. And also that saved me a good bit of dev time, let's be real. Let's talk about asset packs for a second. They've kind of got a stigma around them due to so-called asset flips from the past many years, but as you can probably tell, this pixel art on screen is so good it's not mine because I suck at pixel art and animation. It's actually a wonderful asset pack called Midnight Forest by Archon Aspect on itch. And I used it because obviously developing the skill of being good at pixel art and being good at animation would be valuable, but it would take a lot of time. And what I really like doing is coding and designing and putting everything together. I just wanted to make a little guy run around on the screen. So I went and used this asset pack to let me get back to the parts of development that I like. If you spend too much time bashing your head against an aspect that you're not having fun with, then you burn out really fast. And I think it's really important to keep yourself motivated, so I don't think there's anything wrong with using asset packs to skip some parts of development that you're not enjoying that much due to maybe a lack of skill or just a lack of interest. I think it's fine. Now, that doesn't mean that you should just use AI because it saves you time. No, people have put a lot of work into making assets online for free. There's a ton of royalty-free and CC0 stuff on itch and Open Game Art and a ton of other places. It's very easy to find and search. And the thing is, these asset creators made these bits of content to be used in a video game. And I can imagine that any kind of asset creator would get really excited to see their work in a full video game. So if there's a part of development that you're not really enjoying, go find some free assets, there's a ton of them, and get back to that stuff that you like doing. This is the first jump in the level that requires you to use the run button. There's a little bit of a dilemma in development because everything before this can be completely trivialized if you use the run button. But I figured that if you're using the run button on those parts of the level, you understand how platformers work. You've probably played Mario, and you understand how the run button can kind of really trivialize some of those simpler jumps and let you go a little bit faster. But not everyone has that kind of experience, and that's sort of the point of the game, is that not everyone is on the same level of playability, and sometimes that is because of a lack of familiarity with platformers. So if you're a new gamer, or maybe you're not very good with platformers, or maybe the timing assist system is really throwing you off, you're going to naturally use the controls that you understand the best, and those are walking and jumping. So using just the walk and jump buttons when you go through the start of this level, it teaches you platforming fundamentals throughout all these different jumps up to this point. That way you can learn them in a comfortable space and you're not forced to reckon with this final button on the controller and overcomplicate everything up until this point, and then it all opens up. But before that, you're able to learn everything in a relatively safe space that's not asking too much of you. A large reason behind including these commentary tracks is that I have ADD. I forget stuff fast and really often. And I put so much work into this game, I made so many deliberate choices and put so much of myself into the work, I don't want to forget any of that. So while it may kind of seem that these are like a record to make sure that you, the player, appreciate my glorious design decisions, it's actually mainly for me, to help me remember the work I did, the experiences I had, and the choices I made. This cave is not a natural formation. It actually came to be not as a planned part of the level, but because I noticed that a lot of the tighter jumps, like head hitters and areas with really, really specific tight spaces, were in one section of the level. And I just thought, oh, okay, we could break up the variety of the level by adding a cave here. And that taught me to listen to the game design more and not keep this rigid idea of, oh, it's just going to be in a forest the whole time. Instead, I really just listened to the level design that I had created and found that it naturally informed a cave to be here. And I think the game is better for it. I think there's a lot more variety in the gameplay and the presentation because I put a cave here. I have no idea where this node is going to be because it barely has to do with the game, but I wanted to talk about my system for maintaining my posture and health as I work. Obviously, when I'm working like 10 plus hours a day on this game, I'm going to be sitting a lot. So what I did is I set a timer every 20 minutes, and every 20 minutes I got up, I walked upstairs, and I looked out the window for a full 30 seconds at a building across the street. And it was probably creepy. I hope no one saw me, but I did that every 20 minutes because there's the 20-20-20 rule where every 20 minutes you should look at something 20 feet away for 20 seconds. So I tried to make sure I did that, and that prevented a lot of eye strain. When I forgot to do that, immediate eye strain. And also, it gave me an excuse to get out of my chair and walk around. Because no matter how good your chair is and how well tuned it is to your posture, you should still stand up and walk around. So, if you haven't done that in 20 minutes, go stand up and walk around for like 20 to 30 seconds. You will feel better. I promise. Decorating the level with props, like the bushes and signs that you see in the background, took a surprisingly long amount of time, but it was really fun just to figure out when I could put in a bush and when I could put in like some rocks and a sign and stuff and what kind of story I could tell with that. And what emerged out of that was a multi-act level where you're kind of going into this abandoned forest, and then you go into, and you see little bits of infrastructure, and then you go into a cave and you see more recently maintained infrastructure that's not covered in moss. And then once you get out of the cave, you start seeing that there's a cult nearby, and you're sort of reaching their territory. And then finally you get to their territory at the end of the level, and you meet with one, and then you find out that, oh, this was the point. This is what you were trying to do, is get into this cult territory to maybe join them. And then the final twist in the cutscene is that they are like trapping you, and they're coming out of the tent to surround you. And all of that came from just putting props in the environment. I didn't actually plan any of it beforehand, but as I started placing the little bits and bobs, a story formed out of that. And obviously this isn't a game where the story on screen is very important, but it was so fun to construct, you know? Just a great time all around. So at this point in recording, I realize I've hit over 20 minutes of these developer nodes, and that made me think about the original reason why this topic is so important to me. Back when I used to stream and do YouTube videos, the next YouTube video that I was going to make was going to be about accessibility in video games. I was going to talk about Control and Celeste and a couple others, and also difficulty settings and how all of those can make a game more playable for people of different skill levels and different ability, right? However, editing videos is possibly the worst thing I've ever done in my life. It feels like it's putting so much time into something for so little payoff, and I'm glad some people enjoy it, but I hate it. And I realized that, oh, I've put more time into this game than I would have put into the video of the same topic, but I was having so much more fun. And I really think that the way the idea is presented in the game, as opposed to if it was just a passively consumed video, I think it hits harder, that you have to see how the playability increases by doing it yourself and actually playing it before and after those settings are in play. I think that hits a lot harder, and hopefully it makes the point stick with people a bit more. So since this is my first solo released game, I feel like it's a good time to talk about why I developed and released it under the name Bad Games. Obviously, I'm not trying to make low-quality games. I put a lot of work into the one you're playing right now. Instead, the name is meant to just be very upfront that the quality of the game isn't really the point. I think trying to objectively evaluate the quality of any piece of art is really reductive, and it means that you're treating that art as a product instead of a reflection of the artist or a piece of art trying to make a point. And I'm not trying to make products. I'm trying to make cool art. I make games to channel my passion into something that reflects me in some way, or has an interesting point, or is just fun for me to make. I don't care if it's considered good or will appeal to a lot of people. So the name kind of dissuades anyone who would look at a game that's not trying to be good and lose interest. I don't think those people would like my games, so I say they're bad. This small finale of the cliffs region of the level is kind of like a victory lap. The jumps aren't actually very confusing, they're just long jumps. They're like the longest jumps that I found were possible, and I made it like one block shorter, I believe, so that it wouldn't be too hard, because I wanted the finale to feel like a victory lap. I think what comes directly prior to this is actually the most interesting part of the level design, and the hardest kind of quiz of what the different jumps require. And instead, this final bit is just long running jumps that are easy to read and easy to identify what you've got to do to give you sort of a thrilling finale. I learned that from stuff like Portal 2, where the ending peaks in difficulty a little bit earlier and then gives you a fairly easy finale so that you can feel the rush of progress. And I hope I was able to capture that at the end of the level here. As you get to the end of the level here, I feel like it's important to ask if the story of the level actually added anything to the game as a whole. Did it improve the product? And you can probably guess my answer. I don't care. I just had fun making it. It was really enjoyable to see this story emerge out of a couple props that I placed in the level and finding little avenues to give an increasing level of danger as the level goes on with those different props and the skulls on pikes and stuff. But at the end of the day, a lot of people don't notice environmental storytelling because it's subtle. I usually miss environmental storytelling, and so most players, I'd assume, don't really notice that the actual forest is getting more spooky and dangerous and culty, but I did it because I wanted to, and that's another lesson of just like have fun, do fun stuff. Don't worry if like no person is gonna notice because you're having fun making it. And maybe you could do a developer commentary track where you specifically point out the hard work you did. You can do that. That's a great move. This ending cutscene is just like pure spaghetti code, but it was one of the last things I coded for the game, one of the last big features left for me to do. And I realized that no matter how much tech debt I accumulate by making genuinely awful code at this point, it will never bite me in the ass because I'm basically done. As long as it works, I'm not going to need to build upon this cutscene system later. I can just make it bad. You know, there's that idea of make it exist first, you can make it good later. When you're at the end of the game, you don't have a later. You don't have to make it good. So and obviously that's horrible software engineering. You know, my chances of getting a software engineering job are dropping the longer I keep talking about this. But it's just a cool lesson that when you're at the end of the game, you can just leave it, man. It can be awful. No one's gonna know. This ending cutscene is just